This week, we're talking about how to ask your network to help you find a job or help you with a promotion or help you with whatever your goal, Cinderella, might be. What I find interesting about this is so often people say, oh, you need to network to find a job. You need to find new people. And here's what I first say to everybody is you already have a network. People who already exist that you don't even know may or may not be talking about you that you can leverage first. They are your first fans. And who are these people? Well, they're your managers, past and present. And by the way, if your present manager doesn't know why you are uniquely awesome, you should get aligned on that. Colleagues, who have you done projects with? Customers, who have you done external projects with? And if you don't have an external facing role, maybe even partners or vendors, really helpful for those people who don't necessarily work in the front facing part of their organizations. These people exist everywhere and have had an experience with you and probably already have an idea about what your potential is. The question is can they help you see it by being a mirror for you? Can they help you amplify it, or are they already by talking about you? Or are they already people who are socially generous and who are talking about people? And you should make sure, like all of the people in your network, that they are telling the story about you that you want them to be saying rather than the one that they believe. Because if those things aren't the same, well, then, Houston, we have a problem. We're going to talk about this and more on today's show: how to help get your network to help you find a job. Hello, and welcome, everyone. There we are. Couldn't see you for a second. Welcome to the show. It is lovely to see everybody. As you can see, I am not in my normal situation, so I am speaking to you all from the beautiful East Coast up in Maryland, which is a bit of a shift for me, which may also mean that we have a surprised guest or two, as my niece, who is 7, thinks that Auntie Jojo showing up in sequins is basically the best thing ever, and so has been wearing sequins all day to share with her auntie. So always fun to have special guests on this. Okay, so what are we talking about today? We are talking about one, of course, of my favorite statements. Every decision made about you is made in a room that you're not in. And when you start to unpack that statement, you realize that we are teaching people who we are, what we want, and how they can help us at every single interaction. And this is critically important for you if you're trying to get a job, if you are trying to get on somebody's radar, if you are trying to get a promotion, if any of your ambitions want to manifest, you need to start intentfully thinking about this. And that is what we're going to talk about today. Because of a couple of things. One, I think we are making it super hard for people to help us, or help them help us as we try to manifest all of our ambitions. And I think one of the other ideas around this as well is a lot of people want to help you, but often don't know how. And I'm just going to throw this out there. I think you are all removing opportunities to help somebody else feel great about themselves. And I'm going to explain that one in just a second. But I know that if you are here, you are probably incredibly generous and an awesome human being. And you are like, what do you mean I'm taking away opportunities for people to feel really great? I do that all the time. I'm going to give you more opportunities. So that's what we're going to do today. Just so I can get a lay of the land on what problems people are trying to solve that they show up for. How many of you signed up for the show on the I need help getting other people to help me manifest my ambitions, are doing that because they need a new job? just a raise of hands, or if your camera's off, a thumb up. So we've got a lot of new job folks. Is anybody there trying to get a promotion or trying to get on somebody's radar? Or is anybody, I'm all three? I mean, technically you should be all three at all times, really. Okay, so here's how today's show is gonna go. Periodically, we're gonna have a little blonde head show up, as you saw earlier, which will be fun. Darby, we will call you in when we are ready. She's peering at me through camera screens. It's very cool. So I want to talk a little bit about this whole idea of how do we help each other and how we think. And then we have a special guest today who is going to share her own experience. Thank you, Deborah, for showing up today, about how she has used this tool and these ideas, and spoiler alert, how effective they've been already. I'm excited to hear the updates. We are, of course, are going to have some audience demonstrations. So if you have a scenario where you're like, I need to send an email, or I need to reach out to somebody I know in my network, and I'm not entirely sure what to say, this is your time to ping Kelly. Say hello to everybody, Kelly, over there. Ping Kelly and say, I have a scenario and I would like to talk about that. So remember, the theme today is how do I ask other people to help? And then, of course, we have created you guys specifically for the I need help finding a job, or I'm trying to get on somebody's radar. We have given you an option for we've got an other situation where I'm not entirely sure what to describe my situation, but I'm looking for a fill in the blank template. So if you want a copy of literally a template that you can use, where you just put in your own specific information and you hit send and you do what Deborah has done, we've got that as an option, and Kelly is going to be sharing the link and the information on all of that in chat. As always, throw questions in chat. As always, we will be pulling one winner from the group. Asada, I'm very excited to see yours, because Asada is going through, just a reminder, she won the 20-second video session the other day. She has had to jump through like 50,000 hoops already. And now we're going to get into editing stage. So super excited to get that win. So, okay. Let us jump in the deep end around how do you start to help people help you manifest your ambitions? How do you get your network to help you and all of this sort of stuff? So I want you to think about that every decision made about you is made in a room that you're not in. Let's actually unpack what's happening in that room for a second. And I have no doubt all of you have been in that room at some point, all the way from when we were little kids and we were organizing birthday parties and deciding who we wanted to be on the invite list, all the way through to today on jobs and opportunities. Because what happens is somebody goes, oh, hang on a second, we need somebody who, fill in the blank. And that is the conversation. The first thing that happens in that conversation in the room is they're saying, okay, who do we know? So there's a conversation before there's a job description, before somebody reaches out, before any of that, where somebody says, who do we know? And that's the moment when I talk about how I want you all to teach people who you are and why you're awesome, that they're thinking about you. Now, here's the second, so that when you sit here and go, they're thinking about you, what have you taught them to say? Now, so often I hear people say, oh, well, they say really nice things like, I'm really good at connecting people. I'm really good at getting things done. Or I'm really reliable or trustworthy or creative, or all of those kind of very awesome, but a bit generic answers. And when I ask people also, well, what do you want them to be? Like if somebody was talking about you in a room that you're not in, what do you want them to say? So often I hear the really lovely statements like, I want them to think I'm a team player. I want them to think that I'm kind. I want them to think that I'm strategic. I want them to think that I'm really good at developing. All of the lovely things that you can say about yourselves. Here's my question though. Is that making you feel better? Or is it making other people want to hire you more? And I would argue that most of the times when we think about what we want people to say about us in rooms that we're not in, we are making ourselves feel better. That's awesome. And if you need it, all power to you. A little confidence boost is never a bad thing, but ultimately you want them to act and to engage with you. So when I say the statement, all of this is about you, but it's also not about you, this is that it's not about you. I use the same advice when I talk about headshots in LinkedIn. When anybody says, oh, do you like my headshot in LinkedIn? I'm like, what do you think about it? And they're like, well, it's the one that I really liked. And I'm like, who cares what you like? Because you are not the audience. Wedding photos, baby photos, if you decide to do another, I don't know, portrait of yourself for whatever reason, absolutely, you are the audience and you should feel great about yourself. Again, thumbs up. But if you are putting a profile photo up on LinkedIn, if you are putting graphics out there, it is not about you. It's about how somebody else reacts. My pro tip for headshots is pick 3 images that you are comfortable and confident in, and then go out to about 5 people that you know and say, which one of these tells a better professional story of me? Now, I used to do that, and because I am not in my normal home, I would show you my 2 photographs. The photo I picked always gets trashed because the one that people choose is the one that they have an emotional reaction to. Same thing about how somebody talks about you in a room that you're not in. You want them, yes, you want it to be awesome, and yes, you want it to be you, and yes, you want it to be something that you're proud of, but it's about why did they care as opposed to what you care about. And I want to continue talking about this thing, because if I was going to say of all of the things that I share, other than that every decision made about you and your opportunities is made in a room that you're not in, this idea that you, the product, need to remember that other people are purchasing you and it's actually about what they give a shit about is actually the most important thing. Because you miss on that and you start to get inauthenticity issues. It starts to feel icky and braggy. It doesn't really maximize the opportunity and or makes you sound generic and boring. And I don't want any of you to sound boring. So that's lesson number 1. The second one is when you think about that as they're making the decision. So first, what are they saying about you? The second one is do they even know that you exist? And this is where I come back and say, look, you cannot, not in a million years, guarantee that they are talking about you. Even if that room has your boss in it, you do not know. And so unless you are actually actively telling people what you're about and what you want, people forget. And only because I see we are a bunch of awesome lady people in the room, you want to understand why the guys are getting the opportunities. They tell people more frequently. And it's not a bragging thing, it's a frequency thing. You stand still long enough with a confident guy and he's going to tell you what he thinks in about 10 seconds or less, mostly. Now, certainly there are some guys that don't, but technically they do it more. Now, does society allow them to do it more? Is it more appropriate? All of those sorts of things. Do they get more practice? Yes, absolutely. You think about how we challenge young men to talk about themselves and promote themselves and all of that from a very young age. Absolutely. But and yes, Sandy, it is the purple. It's a frequency thing. It's the purple effect coming in 100%. And so as you are doing this, 1, do give yourself a little get out of jail free card. I know that this is uncomfortable and a little bit different for you. And so if this is not your normal operating procedure, I feel you, but you need to practice and get better at this, because if they cannot see you, they can't choose you. This is my Cinderella equivalent of she came down the main staircase. She did not just come in a side door. And because she came down the main staircase, and I will add a tiny bit late so that she was alone on the staircase, she was seen. This is the same reason, and no judgment on the people who have their cameras off today. This is why when I think about the future of work and virtual versus in person, cameras on, folks. Even if you look like you've been dragged through a hedge backwards, cameras on. You need to be seen, or you need to show up in the office unless you have an awesome boss like me who's like, we're all going to be virtual all the time. We don't care. Come work for somebody like you get to choose. Okay. So I want to give you an example just to kind of work through how I want you to take the role of the people in the room for a second. I am just going to share with you that I am looking for a part-time, I don't know, COO, operations coordinator. I don't even know, Jack and Jill of all trades. I don't even know what we're going to call them. They in the world of Joanna, you get to pick your own title. Or you get to be like Kelly, who has worked for me for nearly a year now and has yet to pick her title and or update her LinkedIn profile. No judgment, Kelly. It's her journey. She gets to choose, but I thought I would guilt her out on the show live and give her a hard time. I am deprogramming her slowly. It's okay. I'm very gentle. So I'm looking for somebody, and it's basically somebody who is, this is what I need. I need somebody who is courageous enough to be the boss of me, because basically I need somebody to boss me around, hold me accountable, hold me to all the things, but also has this ability to understand how to be even nicer than I am with my clients, because I'm pretty nice with the people that I work with directly, but I need somebody even nicer. We had Kylie once upon a time in the team, and she was freaking magic at that. And so she understands that I need somebody who can be equally a whip cracker and keep me organized and sorted out, but also somebody who is incredibly lovely and understanding and patient and all of those good sorts of things. So not patient with the Joanna, patient with everybody else. Okay, I just made all of that up. Actually, if you do know somebody, let me know, because maybe. I think Kelly thinks I could probably do with somebody like this. Here's my question for you. How many of you, as I was describing this person, thought, I know somebody who would be fantastic at this? Anybody? Off the top of your head, yeah? Okay. If you weren't thinking about it, I want you to kind of go through your Rolodex for a second and think about who you know who might be good for this. Okay, second question for you. What would you say about them to me right now? Kimber, can I put you on the spot as you put your hand up pretty early?
Yes.
Okay, Kimber, what are you going to see? Don't give me names or anything, because I don't want to out anybody. Although feel free to follow up with me afterwards if you think this is a good fit. But why do you think this person's a perfect fit? How would you introduce them to me?
The person that I'm thinking of has a quiet forcefulness. She is not a type A personality, definitely not kind of alpha, but that kind of person that is just driving to get things done, is always calm, is very kind, but definitely holds people accountable to, she used to work for me. So it was always, did you do this? Do you have those? Did you tell me you were going to do this today? I mean, holding me accountable. But when she dealt with crazy government people or crazy agents, she was always I understand. Yes, I hear you. Let me check on that. I'll get back to you. You just described her to a T.
Awesome. Okay. I have another question for you. How hard was that for you to do for her?
It was simple.
How many of you right now will confess to not asking somebody in your network to help you because either you think they're too busy, you think you're asking for too much, because you think that maybe they won't do it, how dare you, all of those things. And what did Kimber just say? Easy, easy. Okay, so super low effort. Kimber, one more question. If I ended up hiring your friend, let's just, fairy godmother time, magic, magic, magic. She ends up coming to work for me. How would you feel?
Awesome,
Yeah.
because I think you'd be a great fit for each other, right? I think it'd be great for her, and you'd be great for her too, in a mentoring way. She's a little bit younger, probably in her late 20s, early 30s. So
Mm,
she's just kind of starting out. And
somebody I can mold.
exactly,
Awesome.
right? You use a good mentor, and I think you would be great that
Thank
way.
Well, we may have to chat then because I do. It's getting bad around here. But I come back to you. You remember how I said at the beginning of the show when I look back at my notes, we're making it too hard for people to help us. Um, People want to help but don't know how. I just made it easy for Kimber. It was really easy for her to help. And we're taking away opportunities for others to feel great. We didn't actually do anything. And Kimber, do you already feel pretty fantastic right now? Yeah,
Yeah.
this is what I'm talking about, folks. Uh, There is not, if you sit back and think about the last time you got somebody else a job, how great it felt and how wonderful it was to see somebody who you cared about actually not only manifest their dreams, but have somebody else in your network manifest their dreams. It is awesome. This is a universal truth for somebody else. And so, as I want you to reframe this whole ask from I am asking somebody for a favor to I am giving somebody an opportunity to feel awesome. Big shift in thinking, excellent results. Because you know what? You want to get it to the point where people are like, I have somebody in my network who does introductions, and I know that he does this because of this. And people are like, oh my God, when he makes an ask, everybody moves so fast because they want to be the one to not only feel awesome, but also be part of his network and part of his whole organization. That's the thing to optimize for. That's the thing to optimize for, not am I great at getting things done? I want to optimize for when I say, hey, let's go do this, that everyone's like, oh my God, I really want to do it because this could be fantastic, right? Such a different framework, and how much more liberating and freeing and all of the things as you go through. So, a complete reframe on how you think about it. Okay, so now I've given you a bit of a reframe on the actual asking part of the process. I want you to hear how I think about it. And I absolutely think about the whole process of networking like a salesperson. And I am saying this because yes, I used to carry a bag, and yes, I knew my numbers down to a T. And I knew my numbers down to a T, and this was 20 something years ago. And if one of my old, well, she probably wouldn't care at this point, but I knew, as an example, that if I got to 10 decision makers in a week, I would close enough business based on all of my numbers to not only maintain my pipeline and keep it consistent, which is what my boss wanted, but also maintain either the first and second or second salesperson in the sales organization at all times, which is what I wanted. And that maintenance meant my compensation was relatively stable. This is how obsessed with the numbers I was. It also meant that I knew that if I got my finger out and got things going and got to my 10 decision makers before close of business on Thursday, I could take Fridays off, which I'll tell you was also pretty fabulous. I want you to think about the product you are selling and manage it like a pipeline, and think about how many people do I need to put in the funnel each week to keep the conversation going. Let me talk you through how to do that. I'm going to pop up some screens. Okay. So, first of all, if you are going to create a sales funnel, the first thing you need to do is figure out who is top of funnel. Who are your potential customers? And in your case, potential people you can ask for help. No big surprise. Up at the top, your managers and your colleagues, obvious people who can help you. Third of all, and probably I think the most overlooked group, are your customers. I have no doubt you all have people in your network who are customers that are really great friends. I certainly have relationships where I have been the customer to the vendor, and I invited one of them to my wedding. We are that good friends. Business partners are another really great. So if you've got companies that work with, I will tell you, I probably got, I don't know, 3 or 4 job offers from people in my network who were vendors who were like, will you come over and work with us? Really great resource. I then sit here and say, in your broader network, so even outside of your professional network, who are the influencers, who are the amplifiers, and who are the mirrors? Because these 3 characteristics, and they can be any job, any part of your network, or anywhere. So these can be members of your mommy group. This can be members of your book reading group. This can be the people that you play softball with at the weekends. This can be the people that you do puppy play dates with. This can be somebody who is standing in line beside you in a grocery store. This can be the person you sit next to if you're starting to fly again on a plane. Influencers are people who seem to have a lot of people who follow them and like to share stories about themselves. You know who I'm talking about. Look for those sorts of people who are very public. They generally have a really large network and a lot of people that they can tell. Makes it really easy for them. Amplifiers are people who run around, and they're always the people you hear who have new ideas, who are always telling you about the latest movie or the latest technology or this new person that you meant to meet or anything like that. And then the last one is mirrors. And mirrors are people, and they are gems of people. Not that everybody in this isn't a gem, but mirrors specifically have the relationship with you that they can hold up a mirror to you and say, do you see what I see? And either it is awesome, or do you see what I see, and do you really want to be showing it these ways? This is where mentors, professional sponsors, people who really care about you and are aligned with your ambition that can really sit. So as you're thinking about this, like, think about all of the people that fit these different criteria. And what I always challenge people to do, if you're like, oh my God, I'm stuck, I don't even know, like, go onto LinkedIn, do a CSV file of every single one, download of every single one of your contacts on LinkedIn, download it, import it into a spreadsheet, and then go through every name and put one of those categories on them. Are there some people that you're not going to be able to categorize? Probably. But is that going to help you figure out where do they bucket and how can you connect them and how can you start to automate them? Yes. Then you can come in and say, okay, the next thing, now you've got your consideration set, you then go a level lower and you say, okay, who do I want to target first? Take that same list of people and prioritize them 1 through 4. 1, low-hanging fruit would be a no-brainer. 2, ooh, I'm a little nervous reaching out, but that would be awesome. 3, I haven't connected with them in a year or more, but they'd be a really good person to connect with. And 4 is, it's a long shot, but I should do it anyway. Here's the other magic piece of advice I want to give you on this. Every single research paper on the planet has shown that referral and connections happen more through your second and third tier contacts than it does with your first tier. Your best friend is usually the last person to get you a job, although that's not always true. It certainly happened for me. But as you're thinking, especially those people you're like, I haven't reached out to them in like 3 or 4 years, doesn't matter. And I'm going to give you an example. So I am a big fan of Team Kessler, and I know that husband Kessler, although not called that, is looking for a job. There was a job posted on LinkedIn 2 days ago by somebody I used to work with 15 years ago. I don't care. I reached out to him and I was like, dude, I have a dude for you. We should make this happen. And is it all happening? 100%. And he's all like, so great to hear from you. And I'm like, I know, we should catch up. I haven't seen you in like 15 years. And he's like, I see all your stuff. You are officially crazy. And I was like, I know, how fantastic is that? Team Kessler is going to win. The guy I reached out to is totally going to win because he has no idea the tornado that is heading in his direction. And I'm going to win. We all win in this conversation. And do I care that I have not seen this guy in nearly 15 years? Not even a tiny bit. Because what's going on in my head is A, Team Kessler's going to win. Huzzah. Like Kimber, I'm going to feel great. B, I just got a really good excuse to talk to somebody who is a decision maker at a really big company that I know that if he actually found out what the heck I was doing, he'd be all like, oh, hang on a second. We need to bring Joanna in. Again, triple win, getting people on the radar. Again, it is absolutely the purple effect coming into play. Okay, then it comes back to making the ask itself. Here's the thing. When you're asking somebody for something, there is being too coy and being too abrupt. What you're looking for is somewhere in between. And so you can't reach out to somebody and say, hey, I need a job. You also can't reach out to somebody and say, hey, I'd love to do a coffee and really want to get a job. The key is to find that space where there is value for both, kind of like the example I just gave. And so making a request, making it personal, and you can see my asking workflow here, like it's a multi-step process, but being clear in your reach out of why you are reaching out, what to do, or what it is they need to know that they might be intrigued to act on. And number 3, how do you make it easy for somebody to follow up? And this third step is the one that I see people really miss on. So I want to talk from Joanna giving you all a hard time and talking about all my stories and talk about a real example. Deborah, can we get you off mute for a second? So
Sure.
I know your story very well. Can you give the group a little bit of background on your situation and what you're doing and all of that, because sort of just kind of set up what's happening for you?
Sure. The last time I worked for a company, and I did work for companies as an employee for like, I don't know, 10 some years, was about 20 years ago. So I've had my own company, and I decided for a variety of reasons that I want to go back and join an executive team. And so it's reconnecting with people, reminding them that I used to be an employee and that I want to be one again, and giving them ideas about what kind of an employee I could be right now to start off as, and helping them make that connection.
Okay. And so recently, Deborah has been going through the executive program with me. And so I am super familiar with the awesome product of Deborah. And one of the steps for her, as I said, we need to go teach people about who you are, what you're doing, and leverage your network. And so she and I co-created, using the template that we're sharing today, an email that came in, and I'm just going to paraphrase a little bit, that said, and these were all Deborah's contacts. It said, hey, whoever it is, I'm reaching out to you because it's time for me to transition from the consulting work back into the corporate world. I'm kind of saying what we said, something much more eloquent, I seem to remember. And I'm looking for introductions to people who are looking for somebody like me. That's your why at the beginning. Then this is where the magic happens. She said, the kind of problems I'm looking to solve for companies are bullet point, bullet point, bullet point. The kind of organization that would get the best from me is bullet point, bullet point, bullet point. No resume, no nothing. Because when you read that as a potential hiring manager, you go, I have those problems. That company sounds like me. That's what I'm talking about. While it's about Deborah, it's not about Deborah. It's about how people react to Deborah that's important. Then at the bottom, remember, clarity and follow through make it easy. At the bottom, we said, if you know of anybody who might be interested, this is the best place to reach me. Gave her email address. Here is a link to my LinkedIn profile, which I will also say, by the way, she had somebody awesome help her with that, who is now part of Team Awesome here at the Amplify Lab, and she's fantastic. I think it's fabulous, because I will not write a LinkedIn profile for anybody for all of the money in the world. No. And did that. We also went over and above on this. At the end of the email, she wrote, to make it easy for you to share this information for me, I have rewritten this email in the third person so that all you need to do is copy, paste it, and make your edits on the intro and outro. So the email below it said, hey, fill in the blank. I want to introduce you to my friend, Deborah. Deborah is looking for connections and the kind of problems that Deborah's great at solving are boom, boom, boom. The kind of organization that would get the best from Deborah is bang, bang, bang. I thought this sounded like you. The best way to reach Deborah is, here's a link to her LinkedIn profile if you want to know more, blah, 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 blah. Super simple. Imagine you got that in the email about somebody in your network. Makes it easy. Deborah, spoiler, you want to tell us what happened? You sent, what was it, 5 or 10 on Monday?
I think I sent 10.
Okay, and?
So 2 of my friends immediately forwarded to executive recruiters, which I thought was good, because I think that those relationships are hard to cultivate yourself unless they're coming after you or you're recommended to them. One of my contacts actually sent me his LinkedIn, alert. He's looking for the same thing as I am. And when he shared that with me, what's funny is that he's a little bit more senior than me. I'm like, why in the world are you looking for this position? But he was getting different stuff from LinkedIn than I was. So I'm sharing mine and he's sharing his, and I don't know what LinkedIn's algorithm is, but I'm not seeing the same jobs he is. And it's not based on seniority. I can't figure it out. So I thought that was really fascinating that he could set up an alert. I could have the same alert, but we're seeing different opportunities. One person came back and said, well, gosh, what kind of companies would be a good match? And I was like, that's for you to figure out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm sorry, you wanted to jump in, Joanna?
No. I know we had to tweak him a tiny bit,
Oh.
but did you have one person say, literally, we need to talk?
Yeah. Well, and I have another person writing a job description for me. So just like you said, right? You want to, when they're thinking about it, you want to be the person they're crafting the job description after. That's really big.
Exactly. And
I will say though, I do just want to say one thing, Joanna. By the time I ended up sending out that template, I felt like $1 million, right? I was like, oh my God, I want to send this to people that actually haven't heard from me in 15 years, right? They're my LinkedIn contacts, but they don't really know about what's going on with me. But getting to that point, the last 3 weeks have just been really a difficult transformation, and made easier by you, because you're the person that helped me had that vision, and you're the person that kept giving me stuff to utilize. And as hard as it was, I was like, I've invested so much in this program. I have to do what she's telling me. I have to trust Joanna knows, even though it didn't feel right. It didn't feel like me, all because of what you just said at the beginning. We're used to looking at this from our perspective, and you're getting us to look at it from other people's perspective. And that is a hard transformation to make on your own.
Oh, thank you. Well, you have been a star student through all of this. Even like, I will tell you all, I've sent her multiple emails where I'm like, trust the process, do what you're told. And I am expecting all sorts of good things, but it's that simple, folks. It really is. And really thinking about, I mean, you don't even need to follow a fancy template. The reality is if people don't know you're looking, they don't know to help you. And people do forget. I'm a member of multiple organizations, and I'll tell you, I'm going to a happy hour huzzah, because we can go out in person again in a couple of weeks to go hang out with some totally awesome lady people in the Bay Area. And I know my first question to all of them is, are you looking? Are you looking? Because I need to update who's out there looking. And I've lost count of the amount of times I've been like, oh, I only wish I knew you were on the market. Actually, I had a party at my house the other day, and I think 3 different people got jobs while they were there, because I'm like, look, we all need to start talking about this more, and the opportunities. And if we all want to help each other, this is the most ideal way of doing that. So again, do that template. Okay. I know parties at my house are always super fun. Last thing on this idea before we get into demo time, I'm going to do some math with you for a second. I have a question for you. Would you prefer to do 25 things or 375 things to get a job? 25. Right. It's kind of a stupid question. Here's the thing. You are 15 times more likely to get an opportunity if you come in as a referral than if you come in by hitting the apply button. 15 times. So let's just for a second say you send 5 emails for 5 weeks. That's 25 emails over the space of 5 weeks. I think that is a tiny amount. And I actually recommend, like, don't send all of your emails in 1 week and like make it crazy. Send 5 to 10 every Monday and just start the machine going, because that is where the conversation starts. People will be like, oh, did you hear that Sandy was looking, or Kimber was looking, or Kathleen was looking? That's when the chatter starts. That's the purple story coming to life. It also means it's manageable for you. Or you can apply to 375 jobs to get the same effect. I don't know about you, but I am lazier than all get out. And I would prefer to just do the 25. Plus, who knows the bonus stuff that would happen. Yes, ma'am.
I wanted to add one thing about this, because I'm getting nothing from applying, well, 1 out of 200 applications on LinkedIn. And I didn't really understand what the issue is. I had my resume redone. You need an ATS version of your resume so that when it gets uploaded, it is like things have really changed. So you need an ATS version of your resume, and you need to have somebody. I sent mine to someone who uploaded it into an ATS machine and see what it spits back to you, because it spits back something. It summarizes me all electronically using a bot. And you want to be able to tweak that, right? You want to be able, it's no longer that you're not uploading your resume and an HR person is not looking at it. It doesn't work that way anymore. A bot is reading your resume and determining whether you're executive level, whether you're mid-level, what you focus on, where you'd be good at. And I'm like, oh my God, the stuff it says about me is actually not right.
Yeah.
So you have to be able to manage that.
Yeah. Resumes are a whole new beastie. I could go on how they don't work, and I don't think they are useful for either finding you or finding a job. Is it a necessary part of the process at the moment? Are there lots of tools online for getting your resume optimized for an applicant tracking system? Yes. And some of them are really, some of them are very careful. Kelly, I don't know if we remember the technology company we had a while back. Let's see if we can dig it up for the follow-up from the show. There's a company that we've experimented with that I think for like $100 will not only optimize your resume for applicant tracking systems once you've got it right, but also will tweak it so that it optimizes for every single system. Because here's the other thing, the largest applicant tracking system in the United States of America is still run on DOS, which if you don't know what DOS is, I know. It's kind of like they're still running applicant tracking things on like phone dial-up for your internet as opposed to broadband. It's kind of horrifying. You can imagine what it is. And so because of that, it does cover multiple companies. And if you submit your application more than 10 times in a 48-hour period, the system will consider your resume spam and will kick it out of the system. So there's kind of this no-win on all of this. So it's important. Do I think the process is completely broken? Are we trying to fix that as well? Yes. But even then, clicking, so Deborah you sent what, 5 emails, 10 emails? 10 emails and has gotten multiple leads versus 200 and has gotten 1. The math does not lie. Be lazy like me. How about that as a hashtag for all of this sort of stuff? Okay. So why don't we, what are we gonna, yes, I wanted to switch out and move to demonstration / volunteers / how can I help you time. Does anybody have a scenario where they need to reach out to people that they would a little help with? Yeah, Sandy, why don't you tell us what is going on your end?
I need to, the decisions that I'm not being talked about enough. And my manager loves me, my VP loves me, but my VP's peers, I think, who are going to be making decisions, because everyone wants to promote their own, right? Like, so they know me, they are aware of me because my program high visibility, but they're not talking about me.
Okay. And why do you think they're not talking about you?
Because I work in a product organization, it's very engineering heavy. I'm not an engineer. The problem that they're trying to solve is how do we get faster speed, bigger this, that. That's the problem at hand. The problem that I solve is actually how do we get customers to care about us?
Okay. So how are you thinking this? So that's a broader question, but as you've heard this information today, how are you thinking about how to write an ask of somebody? Like what was your next step within this?
I want to do purple. I want to start, find an opportunity to talk to these SVPs and start getting their perspective on, do you think our organization needs purple?
Yeah, I think you are overthinking, and only because not everybody knows the purple story in the backside of this. Here's how, just kind of listening and doing a quick audit here. It sounds like you could have every fantastic idea on the book. They don't actually want to listen.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's the objection you need to overcome.
Okay.
They don't actually value your mind yet. Sorry to be brutal, but that's the truth.
I understand. Yeah.
Right? And so really your ask is from people who do value your mind to introductions to people who would be good bridge connections.
Okay.
Because I sit here and go, like, clearly you've been selling a product to people who don't understand the value of the product, and how you've been selling it isn't resonating with them. So if I was selling a product that wasn't resonated, I'd go find somebody who kind of got the product and be all like, why do you think this is awesome? How would you describe this? How would you have this conversation, et cetera, and have that conversation first. So I'd go to the people who are already fans of yours and say something to the effect of, hey, so-and-so, I'm reaching out because I think I need a lesson on how to, not to be more compelling. I think there's some wordsmithing that needs to happen there because compelling is not the right word. And or not to say, like, it's not like you want a lesson in how to speak engineering, but maybe how to bridge engineering language to my world. And so I'm looking for connections to engineers who have colored outside of the lines more. Engineers who have done projects that aren't your traditional. So people who've already been breaking the rules. Because think about, like, you all work in all sorts of industries, and we all know in the product lifestyle, there are early adopters, there's early majority, there's late majority, and there's laggards. Sandy, in your situation, you need to find the people who've already been showing kind of early adopter activity. They're going to be an easier person to have a conversation with. And then just, instead of coming out with, hey, instead of doing the, I'm putting this photo up because I think I look good approach, I
Yeah.
need you to bring a couple of photos and say, well, which one of these resonates with you and why? Because I'm trying to understand more of how you think. Because when people, understand how you think, they're going to give you the language that resonates with them. And that's the language that you use to connect with the people who don't get it yet. Plus, they'll become endorsers.
Thank you.
Awesome. Hang on. We are going to have to do a break here because I have a special guest. Darby, you want to introduce yourself to everybody?
Hi, I'm Darby.
I just wanted to know, do you want to
Hi,
stand up?
Darby.
Fabulous sparkles.
I love
Look
the
at her
sparkle.
fabulous sparkles.
Wow.
Fabulous. Because
Fuzzy.
if you're going to wear if Auntie JoJo gets to wear sequins, you get to wear sequins too. We're going to have one of these days a full sequin day. Do you
How
have any
awesome.
questions? You've been listening. She's been listening in on the show. Do you have any questions for the ladies here?
I'm not quite sure yet.
You're not quite sure yet? Do you guys have any questions for Darby? She's super smart.
Where'd you
Well-
get your fabulous dress?
Yes.
I got my fabulous dress.
Well, you have to talk into the camera.
I got my fabulous dress, I think, from a online store.
Yeah. And what do you think about all of these awesome ladies, and why do you think these ladies are awesome? You being a little shy? No, you're too funny. As you can see, the abuse only happens with the family members as well. She is a Joanna in training. Do you want to be me when you grow up?
Sort of.
Sort of. Except, what do you want to
Politically
be when you grow up?
correct.
Hang on. We all need the confidence of a 7-year-old. What do you want to be when you grow up? What are you going to do for a living?
I think I'm going to be a YouTuber and I'm going to paint cars.
Did you hear this? She's going to be a YouTuber and she's going to paint cars because
Sounds good.
why not?
Why the
Exactly.
heck not?
Why not? I know I would buy a car from you that was painted. Done. Can I have one? Can I have one of your first? Awesome. All right.
I think it needs to be sequency.
Get my discount.
I could, listen to she is just the chip off the block. We're going to have to talk about the negotiation here because I get all right. Training them early.
Oh, cute.
Okay, little sidebar there for a little bit of fun because she thinks this is just crazy that Auntie JoJo talks to people. Other questions from the audience and how we can help you manifest your ambitions with getting other people to help you.
You know, Joe, Allison had raised her hand a little bit earlier. She has some questions.
Allison, how can we help you?
Well, it's actually, this is more of coming at it from another angle. So I'm always willing to help my network. And oftentimes I'll get a ping on LinkedIn saying, oh, hey, so I see you're connected to so-and-so, do you mind connecting us? And I'll say, absolutely. However, I've got the people on LinkedIn that might be very close to me or people that have just linked in with me and I've never talked to them before. And so of course I'll say, I've never really talked to this person. So if you could put something together, I'm happy to send a message, but I may get no response.
Well, okay, good. So first of all, whenever you get the will you connect me with somebody, we have an article that I wrote ages ago about relationship capital. And even if the connection is a giant fail, you still win.
Right.
If you are connected with me on LinkedIn, and I connect with everybody unless you try to sell me something immediately, and then I'm all like, you are dead to me. I will connect with everybody in LinkedIn. And if I'm connected to you, I will absolutely give you the opportunity to choose the other person because you get to decide whether it's a no or not. Now, I absolutely, and Allison, you are 100% right. I will always write back and go, I am more than happy to make a connection, but I am the last person to do a good job of talking about what it is you need and why you are awesome. Can you put some language together that I can use to make the connection? Also, I always use what I call a double opt-in. And I tell people this, and I said, and in the double opt-in, I will reach out to them and offer you as a connection. They get to choose whether they say no or not. If they say yes, I'll make the connection, which then gives everybody an easy out. Super simple in that, but it absolutely puts not only the onus on it, but why you're not the right person. Because I do know there are people who are like, oh, doesn't she know what to say? No, you do a better job of it. And if they're too damn lazy to actually follow up with me with language, then I'm like, too bad, so sad, you're not going to get the connection. It's like, it's their loss. And so absolutely flipping the script on that, I think, is appropriate. But I also talk a lot about the double opt-in on connections. And the reality is the more you connect people, the more you are generous with your network, the more you're known for being generous with your network, and the easier it is for you to become like that guy I was talking about at the beginning, where everybody's all like, oh my God. I mean, this is the Oprah effect coming to life, right? There's a reason why Oprah is because if she says, buy this awesome product, we all go out and buy it because we're all a bunch of lemmings. And she picks awesome products, although other people pick them for her and a whole bunch of other stuff, but who cares, right?
Yeah, no, that's perfect. I think the double opt-in thing. So I
Yeah.
think that's what I actually need
The
to do
double
now.
opt-in gives everybody an out. Yeah.
Thank you.
Gives everybody an out. Yeah. I know, lots of people chatting. All right. Any other questions we had on the show? No. Okay. Harry, do you want to say hello to everybody?
I did think of something.
You want to say something? Okay, go ahead.
I know why.
Oh no, go ahead and say it out loud to the camera.
So I think you guys are awesome because you guys are doing a great job to listening to my aunt.
Oh,
Thank you.
I'm so
Thank you.
glad we recorded. You all just got the blessing of the fairy godmother in training. I'm just gonna say. This will be a one-off. Special guests don't always happen. Okay, before we go, let me give you a couple more things. We already talked about the 25. So next week, we've been talking about this a little bit, how to self-promote without it feeling icky. You got to do it, ladies, because if they don't see you, they can't choose you and all of those things. So how do you do this in a way that feels authentic to you, but also starts to do results? Again, if you want to get the copies of the templates that we've been talking about, you can, of course, go through the program and we create you all sorts of magic stuff that is uniquely you, but we do have kind of Mad Libs templates on both an introduction, or if you have something unique and you weren't excited about speaking out loud today, you could do that for yourself. At the very least, I hope you all learned something today. So send one email. This is my challenge to all of you this week. Send one email of an introduction to somebody and see what happens. And then you saw my frequency of 7. This is where the data lands. You need to tell somebody something 7 times before it sticks in their memory. 7. So one email is often not enough. Start to get creative and think about how you tell more. I hope to see you all next week. Kelly, any other announcements you wanted to make sure everybody heard for this week before we let folks go?
I don't think so. Just go check out Joanna's Eventbrite page because we did put a bunch of new shows up. We have shows all the way until the end of September. So plan your summer.
Yes, we shall see you. Invite friends. More to come. Thank you all for coming. Last words to say goodbye to the ladies? No. Okay. Have a great Friday, guys. Thank you. And thank you, Deborah, for coming to the show today. Ultimately, we're here to help you figure out how to teach other people who the future you is so that you can be you in the future. Because the clearer you are about who you are, what you want, and teach other people why that's awesome, the more likely you get to be you. I know, it's a bit of a circle. I'm Joanna, your potentialist and fairy godmother, and I wish you the very best. Thanks for coming.